and welcome to today's episode of JCPS Digital Backpack Live. I'm Heather Worrell, the Executive Administrator of Digital Innovation here in JCPS, and today I'm joined by our remarkable JCPS Backpack team. We have Dr. Sarah Nash Bumpus, who is leading our middle school zone. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. And we have our newest teammate, Elaine Abanatha, who is supporting our state agency schools and also developing custom digital workflow for our district leadership. Hi, ladies. How are you?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Dr. Bumpus, I saw you were at Olmsted, South or North yesterday?
Yeah, I was there all day yesterday, and then I was there this morning as well. It's one of my favorite schools. Lots of great things going on there. Heather, you gotta go see the library. They've got a really exciting interactive library.
I cannot wait. Who's the library media specialist out there at that school?
Jennifer Cowan.
Jennifer Cowan. Shout out to her. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to get out there. Did I see Backpack Stanley make his way to
Yes, Backpack Stanley made his way to Olmsted South yesterday. So.
And what did Backpack Stanley see? I saw some pictures. He was next to a little girl. What were they doing? There he is.
I think he was in, today I saw him, he was with a group of girls making a city for some sort of career choices class that they were in, so it was really cool.
So Backpack Stanley, I know he was at Norton Commons Elementary recently, and you just never know where he's going to show up. Super cool stuff. Okay, well, I am so proud of the work that our backpack leaders are doing, and today we are super honored to join forces with our deeper learning friend, the one and only Maddie Shepard, who Dr. Coleman says she's kind of like a Madonna or a Gandhi. Everybody knows her as Maddie. So Maddie is on a one-name basis. So hey, Maddie, how are you?
Hey guys, happy to be here as well. Thanks to my parents for that unique name, so I can achieve that status. But yeah, I'm just excited to join forces with all of the digital innovators, or at least some of them in the district, to have a conversation about EdTech today.
Very cool. And I believe I saw on Twitter yesterday you were at Chansey Elementary, Maddie. What were you doing out there with Chansey?
So our team and a few other people in the district are working on coaching some schools to personalize learning in classrooms, and we have a personalized learning team at Chansey, and so when we support these teams, we try to spend time in classrooms and give feedback and really focus on how to employ different strategies to move the vision forward. And so yesterday was one of our support and debrief days at Chansey, and so we're in that classroom during math time. We saw a lot of steps towards personalization in Chansey classrooms, a lot of choice, very high student engagement. It was really exciting.
Yeah, big shout out to Rhonda Cosby. She is such a forward-thinking and innovative school leader, and I love her passion. And I went out on a visit to Chansey recently, and I was blown away by their flexible seating initiative.
Yes.
I thought I want to be an elementary school principal and do flexible seating with my kids, and it was just so cool, and I was blown away. So huge shout out to our friends out there at Chansey. So Maddie, today you are here to talk about the SAMR model as it relates to deeper learning, and we're so excited to learn from you. So when you're ready, go ahead and screen share and take it away.
So thanks for the introduction. Like Heather said, our discussion is centered around the SAMR model, which is a framework for using technology in the classroom. So I will leave this slide up here for just a second. That bit.ly link that you'll see highlighted there, you can take a picture or screenshot or go ahead and copy and paste that into your browser. That is so that anyone on our live stream today or anyone accessing the video in the future can also access this resource to use with your staff, to use as a reference, to use the template. That's pretty cool, but it's for you to use at your whenever you need it. So there for a second. But we will be talking about technology through the lens of how to leverage technology in a way that really increases and has large impact on student learning or on teacher efficacy. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that. So I always like to start with the why. It was Kim Strobel out of Indiana that says, when we lose our why, we lose our way. So I always start with the why. So one of the reasons that we're talking today about how to effectively leverage technology in the classroom is because for a long time, throughout the 80s and 90s, when technology was really starting to develop and permeate schools and education, a lot of teachers and educators felt some pressure to bring technology into the classroom in order to stay relevant, to compete with what's going on outside of the classroom, but to also be able to communicate and speak to, kind of metaphorically speaking, a lot of our students that are now digital natives. And so where before our imperative was to get technology in the classrooms to be able to reach students and employ and really broaden their horizons, now our conversation is shifting a little bit. I'll go back to this one. So what we're trying to do now is revolutionize classrooms so that they don't look like classrooms that they have looked like for 100 years, since the Industrial Revolution, when education really went under a huge reformation. And so today our conversation is about leveraging technology in such a way that our classrooms really do change, and that we don't see classrooms that look very archaic but have laptops in front of students. Sometimes we associate deeper learning or even personalized learning with every student having a laptop, or even students spending too much time on computers or with devices, when really that's not the case at all. Technology is a tool that we can leverage to personalized learning or to deepen learning, and we'll talk about how we can do that today. Another reason we're having this conversation is that I'm sure teachers and educators all over the United States have felt this. We're inundated with tons of education technology options to integrate into our lesson designs and the experiences that we put forth for our students. So when looking for education technology, it can be really difficult to decide which ones are better than others, which ones are quality, which ones do what you need them to do, and how to really get a big bang for your buck. We know that our time is super precious, and so when we choose to invest our time in learning how to use an education technology, learning how to implement it, learning the different ways that we can leverage it to increase learning and our own efficacy, it can be difficult to kind of sift through all the options that are out there. So that's another reason that we're having this conversation today, is that this framework can really give us a very pointed and focused lens on what we look for in education technology and what we really want to leverage it to do. So if we go into the internet shopping around for these things, knowing what we want the impact to be and having a frame of reference to narrow down our search, it'll really help us as teachers be able to choose and learn how to use and implement the technologies with the biggest impacts.
Can I just say amen like about 4 times during your 2 slides that you've shared? I've just wanted to go hallelujah, amen. Like, you are speaking my language, revolutionizing schools. Dr. Belcher is here and he's tuning in. He's actually sitting right across from me and he keeps shaking his head, Maddie. Like, as you say things, he's like shaking his head in agreement. So powerful stuff. Elaine, Sarah, what are you thinking so far?
I think it's great information. I'm excited about what comes next. All these technology is not going to make great education. We have to have the good lesson plans, the deeper learning, the project-based learning. The technology can enhance it, but it can't change education without really great teaching.
Absolutely.
Elaine, anything you'd like to add as well?
Just reinforcing that whole picture of making sure not one is going to overpower the other. It is that whole picture rather than just one aspect of the puzzle. So for sure.
Lots of tools in the toolbox to play with, and that's what's so fun about this work, right? As we continue to revolutionize in schools and classrooms and think anew, we're getting all these really fun, some people call them paintbrushes to play with, tools to play with. So Maddie, how do we play with these tools? Teach us.
All right, so we will jump back in. So, okay, so when we look at the SAMR model, and I'm so glad you guys said those things, because we have tons of options to use in the classroom, but like Sarah said, we're really going to be able to leverage those options to do a lot more if we partner them with the teaching and the teacher. So we're going to talk about how to do that. So I think it was Elaine that just used the word enhance, and that's part of the SAMR framework. So like many things in education, this framework is organized on a continuum. So we have two parts of the continuum. On the lower end, we have ed tech that's going to enhance learning, and then we have educational technologies that are going to transform learning. And while there is a place for both of these things in education, where we're really going to get a big bang for our buck is when we leverage technology that transforms learning experiences, that transforms what's possible within a learning task or how a student accesses information or how they demonstrate learning. So we'll look at the pieces of this continuum. And so the SAMR, like many things in education, is an acronym. And so we'll start with kind of the lowest level on the SAMR model, and that's substitution. So when we're thinking about technology in relation to the SAMR model and how to leverage this to deepen learning, substitution is when we leverage technology as a direct substitute and we don't really accomplish any change in function. And we'll talk about a few examples of this here in a few slides. Next, we have augmentation. So this is when we leverage technology to substitute a learning task that's already happening or a way to demonstrate learning that's already happening. And there is some slight functional improvement where we're not doing something new with this technology, but the thing that we were doing before is now slightly enhanced and the function has improved as a result of the use of the technology. When we enter into the latter half of the framework and on the continuum, the first level of transformation is when we modify something, so modification. And that looks like when we use an education technology to redesign a task significantly. So whereas in the substitution or augmentation phases, we're using technology to enhance something that we're already doing or something that already exists, we're making it better. On that latter end, we're using technology to change or redefine something. And so that brings us to our last level of the SAMR model, and that's redefinition. So this is the highest level of technology integration in the classroom, and this is when technology allows for the creation of a new task. It allows the teacher and ideally the student to do something that was previously impossible. So that's really where we want to try and live when we're integrating technology and when we're looking for different technologies to leverage in the classroom to increase engagement, to increase ownership or feedback, and ultimately learning.
So shout out right here to STLP. STLP Kentucky and that initiative statewide, and I believe there were 14,000 kids at the last STLP state competition. STLP initiative has allowed kids to do just that in regards to technology. So just a little plug right there for those types of learning experiences for our kiddos. They really hit modification and redefinition as part of the SAMR model.
Right, and that's a perfect example. Those experiences are the exact kinds of things that we're trying to bring into the classroom. So yes, like perfect example. So another example, kind of outside of education, is when we look at this in terms of coffee. It is pumpkin spice season, so I thought this would be a timely example. But when we look at this framework and this continuum, we can see here in a really simple analogy that when we're looking at substitution, a cup of coffee from Starbucks, it's made by someone else, so maybe it tastes a little bit better, but there's not really a functional change. It still serves the exact same purpose and gets the exact same function that a cup of coffee I could make at home would do. Now, when we look at a latte, for some of our coffee aficionados, a latte also has the same kind of basic makeup as a regular cup of coffee. It uses regular coffee with the integration of some additional ingredients that changes the taste and changes the function slightly. Now, when we get to caramel macchiatos and pumpkin spice, this is when the coffee really starts to take on a totally different form, where it really starts to become modified or even redefined. I think a lot of coffee snobs would argue that pumpkin spice isn't even or is barely coffee. But when we look at these two different types of coffee, we're able to reach a larger audience of people that wouldn't normally drink coffee, and we're also able to make it more enjoyable or in the student world more engaging and reach a more diverse audience with being able to diversify the way that we're serving coffee. So when we look at this model outside of education, I like to use this example because this is a good way for us to see how this continuum changes the first version of the coffee, over throughout the continuum.
Yeah, Maddie, you're getting a lot of comments on the chat here. People really like this analogy. I haven't seen this before. We're gonna steal it.
Oh, absolutely, do steal. Well,
Did you create that yourself? Like that?
The source is actually on the bottom of the slide.
Okay.
I got it from schrockguide.net, which is a blog that I love that talks a lot about education technology through the lens of leveraging it very intentionally. So that's
like Kathy Schrock?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. We saw her.
Good job crediting your sources, Maddie.
Thank you.
Elaine, I think we got to see
Digital Citizenship show next week.
Yeah, there you go. Good segue. Elaine, we saw Kathy Schrock. She came to Kentucky at Murray last summer. She did a big session along with the guy that Allison Gregory really, really likes, Adam Welcome. So they were both, and Alice Keeler came in last summer. So yeah, I know a little bit about Kathy Schrock. So this is hers?
Yes, this is her graphic. And yeah, I like it because it speaks to us in a different way, kind of outside of our education frame. And everyone understands coffee, so it's a good model and analogy to use, I think. All right, so we'll keep moving on. So this is another graphic also from Kathy Schrock that I love, and this aligns the SAMR model to Bloom's taxonomy. So when we think about how to leverage different learning experiences in order to elicit higher orders of thinking from students, the SAMR model aligns perfectly to that end. So when we look at the bottom tier of the SAMR model, substitution, this is what really aligns to that bottom tier of Bloom's taxonomy, basic remembering. So again, like with remembering, we're not seeing students create or evaluate or apply any content knowledge or skill. They're just kind of showing that it's there. And so with the SAMR model, again, there's a place for substitution, just like there's a place for remembering or understanding in classrooms, but where we're really going to get a big bang for our buck is some of those upper levels of the SAMR continuum. So with augmentation, we see, again, there's some functional improvement with the task that we're leveraging technology to do in the classroom. And when we get to these upper levels of the SAMR model, I think this alignment is really strong because when we look at the modification level, we're allowing for something that happens in the classroom to be redesigned and modified. And so that's when we get to the analyzing and evaluating piece of Bloom's taxonomy. And then finally, redefinition. When we're leveraging technology to allow students to do something they couldn't do before, that aligns directly with these higher order thinking pieces of Bloom's taxonomy. We can literally leverage some technologies to allow for that higher order thinking level of creation. We'll look at some examples here in a minute of how to use technologies to empower students to create something or evaluate something as a way to demonstrate their learning or mastery of content or skills.
Hey, Maddie, we just got somebody in the chat. Linda Collins is on here from Farnsley Middle School, and she is an amazing computer and robotics teacher at Farnsley Middle School, Miracle Middle Schools, and she does so much creating with her students, a long-time STLP lead. So shout out to Linda Collins. Thanks for joining us.
So again, a snapshot of the SAMR model at a glance. When we look at the lower forms of the SAMR model, we've got enhancement, substitution that's used just to substitute a task, no real change there. Augmentation, a small change in the function of the task, and then these upper levels where we start to redefine what goes on in a classroom, where we modify something and improve the function of the task, and finally, when we allow for something that wasn't possible before, when we begin to redefine a task using technology to allow for something totally new to be created. So let's look at some examples. So I tried to integrate some examples that are broad enough to speak to all levels, but are specific enough to illustrate how this might play out in a classroom. So when we look at an assessment, for example, any assessment, whether it's traditional or not, typically assessments are given out on pencil and paper, and when we look at what a substitution might look like in this end, this might be an assessment that's given in a word processor. So maybe we email the assessment to a student that's out. Maybe it's administered via Google Classroom, and the students type their answers. So we can see here that the assessment's form is still retained, and there's not really a difference in functionality either. It's a basic substitution. When we look at what the augmentation version of this might be, a Google Form is an example of this. So Google Form is a part of our Google Suite that we have, and it's definitely a way to do surveys with kids to get feedback, but there's also some add-ons like Flubaroo you can use it as an assessment mechanism. So when we use Google Forms as an assessment, then the function starts to be augmented a little bit, starts to be changed a little bit. So here we can issue the assessment digitally, just like we could before with the substitution, but now students can access it in a way that provides immediate feedback. They can get copies of their responses via a Google form, which isn't always possible with traditional assessments. So we do have some improved function here with the use of Google Forms as a way to administer an assessment. Here we have a slight variation of the previous example. So the same assessment, still given in a Google form, but now we're grading it using Flubaroo, which means that the students can get feedback and get their find out how they did on this assessment and how, what kind of learning they were able to demonstrate to the teacher today before they even leave the classroom. So in order to really increase the rate at which students learn and grow, John Hattie says timely, actionable feedback is critical and really has a huge growth effect size. So when we look at using Flubaroo and Google Forms as a way to modify an assessment, we're really able to increase the functionality and change the tasks significantly, because now students are able to get feedback on that assessment before they even walk out of the classroom, which is a huge way to change and modify the assessment to really leverage it not only as an assessment of learning, but as an assessment as learning. Learners and students are learning throughout the assessment process, and it's a shared process through both the student and the teacher, not just for the teacher anymore. So we do see a little bit of modification there with the use of Flubaroo and Google Forms. And then the final example is when we redefine the assessment. So again, the same assessment may be given through Google Form, dispersed through Google Classroom, assigned to students that need to take the assessment. But the piece that we're adding here is that now students can submit a video defending their understanding as part of the assessment. So we're still administering via Google Form. We're still giving the student feedback via Flubaroo before they leave, but now using a platform like Google Classroom where students can upload videos to the teacher or to the class at large. Now a student has the opportunity to really discuss and defend their demonstration of learning and really own that learning and take a more active role. Again, shifting that assessment from an assessment that is only for learning, now it's an assessment as learning. And so the assessment in itself is a learning experience. The student gets immediate feedback. If we disperse it via Google Classroom, it can be taken at the student's pace, which again is something that we couldn't do before. And so leveraging these technologies in this way really helps us to define not only what the assessment could look like, but what we're leveraging the assessment to do, and really bring in more parties to the assessment. Traditionally, assessments are for teachers. It's for us to assess where a student is and what our next move might be in order to keep them growing towards mastery of content or skills. But using these technologies in this way allows the student to take a more active role in the assessment, and it also allows, again, for that instant feedback and for the student to interact in a variety of ways, broadening the way that we're reaching learners. So here in this redefined part of the assessment, we're reaching learners that thrive on traditional assessments. We're also reaching learners via the video and allowing them to show learning and defend learning in a different way. And so being able to reach a lot of different diverse learners using this technology is another way that we're redefining the assessment. If we look at another example,
So that was Maddie Shepard with one of our pre-recorded episodes from last year on deeper learning with the SAMR model. It's really one of my favorite episodes, and I think Heather was saying something like that on the chat as well, that it's really important and relevant today more than ever. So I appreciate Maddie's emphasis on the SAMR model and how she shows teachers to go from using different tools like Word that goes from enhancement to something like Google Forms and Flubaroo that really start to transform how people are using tech in their classroom. Just so you all know, I am Jack Bosley with the Digital Innovation team, and I'm going to be moderating this afternoon. We've got several people who are monitoring the chat, lots of experts, and some of my teammates are over there. So please drop in there and introduce yourself and let us know if you have any questions. Right now, we are going to transition to Ashley Byerly. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Ashley's going to be talking about the assessment landscape right now. Ashley, do you have some slides, and are you going to share your screen, I guess?
Yes, I'm going to share my screen and try to remember how to turn on closed captioning since it's been a couple of weeks.
That's all right.
I am Ashley Byerly, MTSS academic. I work closely with Zone 3 schools, but I'm willing to help anybody and everybody. You'll see my contact info on the slides today, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions. But from here, I'm just going to go on, share my screen, and then that way we can get started today talking about this JCPS landscape. Now, at the beginning of the year, the JCPS landscape has been here a while, but we've just kind of revised it and definitely updated it. So let me turn on my closed, I gotta hide this. Let me turn on my closed captioning for those people. There we go. All right, so the JCPS assessment landscape is found on your jcps.me login page, and I'm going to be showing you today, what it looks like and what kind of information that it has. But more importantly, how do we bring this assessment landscape into the classroom and into our schools? That's the number one barrier that we always have. We know assessment's important, but what do we do? So we're going to be talking about some different forms of data and how to use them in the classroom today. So this is a picture of the JCPS assessment landscape, and I'll take you to the website in just a minute, but one of the key parts that I loved when I read this is that assessment is an intentional process. I believe intentional is probably one of those buzzwords right now, but think about the intent for the assessment you're providing. What kind of data are you wanting? So while it's a buzzword, it is such an important descriptor to describe what kind of assessment we really need. We need to have intention behind the data that we're gathering. It's formal and it's informal to understand where a student is and how do we communicate those levels of proficiency. So if I click on this assessment landscape here, and these slides are available on the virtual training schedule, it will bring you to the assessment landscape here. You can see that we've outlined our JCPS landscape into 4 categories: formative assessment, universal screeners, demonstrations of learning, and district common assessment, DCAs, as a lot of you all refer to them. Since we don't really have those DCAs anymore, many people call these the school-based benchmark assessments. And if you're not familiar, to piggyback off some previous sessions we have, Study Island has some benchmark assessments that you can utilize. However, you are obviously not limited to that resource as well. But when you click on one of these boxes and categories, it will pull up another document that kind of talks about what type of assessment this is, the purpose of it, how we should use it, and even examples of it. And we're going to bring these examples home in just a minute when you see a totally different quadrant and how these 2 quadrants connect. And if I go back, you can see it goes through each one if I want to read more about it. Formative assessment, its purpose, how we should use it, We've linked an example of one, but you are not limited. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, just examples. And we have our footnotes down here that explains where we got our information, along with some other articles that are really important to read. Dylan William lists the 5 strategies about what formative assessment is. So I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I really do encourage you that if you have never checked out the JCPS assessment landscape, that you do that. In an ideal state, we want each classroom to include all 4 of these components. So let's go on and let's talk about what does that actually look like. Susan Burkhart's book, How to Make Decisions with Different Kinds of Student Assessment Data, includes this quadrant. We showed this a couple weeks ago briefly, but today we're going to kind of dive in just a little bit more. You can see that we have 4 quadrants. The accountability quadrant, which consists of just KREP, that's our state accountability system. It's the smallest quadrant. That's because it takes the less amount of time in comparison to the others. We have interim and benchmark assessments, and I've taken our JCPS landscape and have linked what types of assessments could go here. So the map obviously is a universal screener. Depending on how you use it, backpack defenses or what kind of data, those are demonstrations of learning. Cumulative assessments could be that as well. Some people are very familiar with the Burdance assessment. That could be one as well. The grading down here, which is more summative assessments or performance-based assessments, are other examples of demonstrations of learning. So bringing in the JCPS landscape and how does it connect to what Susan Burkhart is already telling us. And the last section is the formative assessment, ungraded assessments to check for understanding. I think the big word here is ungraded. Teachers, we tend to just want to collect data and we always want to take a grade, but the most valuable data is usually the things that we don't always grade. Because if we do enough formative assessments, that summative assessment at the end is going to be no surprise to us. And you can see on the quadrant, the formative assessment takes the majority of the space. Because Susan Burkhart, when she designed this, wanted to emphasize the importance of formative assessment. How much formative assessment should we be using in relation to the other categories? And by this visual alone, this is where we need to spend the majority of our time. So in reality check here, when we think about testing and grades and that summative part of the quadrant, think about the troubles that come along with testing and grades. Think about it from the high-achieving students to the struggling learners. There are probably some things that come to your mind right now, like, oh, the struggling learners, they do not like grades as much. Well, let's think about why. Why? Because they probably lose confidence when they get those. The higher achieving students probably love it because all it does is boost everything that they already believed. The number one thing to remember is that grades are personal. These kids take it personally, just like we take our own teaching personally. So grading's not going anywhere. So we have to recognize the difference between the struggling learner and the high achieving learners. Struggling learners, they have that rocky relationship. Those papers are getting passed out, and they're a little bit, they have some anxiety about it. Those grades either are a confidence boost or they already confirm their own perceptions. And a lot of times it perpetuates that failure. This is the proof that shows that they're struggling. The high achievers, they enjoy it. They have positive self-perceptions. So looking at these 2 comparisons and 2 different types of students in our classrooms, we have to strengthen the situation. We know that the grades aren't going anywhere. So how do we build the confidence in students? We build capacity in students, even though we are increasing our rigor. We do that through formative assessment and feedback. It's the number one way to improve academic performance among low-achieving students. As I already mentioned, they are ungraded checks for understanding. They're used for formative purposes. Now, it's no coincidence that inside the word formative is the word form, because we use this assessment to form instruction. So for us to look at it to form instruction, we need to analyze the data and the formative assessments from multiple viewpoints. Maybe we just want to go around and assess student conversations. Maybe the next time we go around and we listen for content vocabulary. Have a purpose in mind when you are providing these assessments. And when we provide enough formative assessment and we provide that feedback, success is easily sustained over long periods and actually show greater success long term as well. So why do we formatively assess? If you look here, I've highlighted in yellow something that really struck home with me when I was reading the book. It said, when a classroom has rich formative assessment, a student can learn in 6 or 7 months what would take other students an entire year to learn. Now let's think about that for a second. You have student A that learns the content. It takes an entire year. But student B, just by that ongoing feedback and constant checks for understanding that are ungraded and safe, we're providing descriptive feedback that allows them to accelerate the process and learn at a much faster pace. So as a former classroom teacher, I've been there. I've had those moments where I walk around and I'm like, okay, good job. That one's wrong. That one's right. But without the description and without effective feedback strategies, we're actually being more counterproductive. So things that we want to avoid are ineffective feedback. One, that artificial or undeserved praise. You go around and maybe that struggling learner is just having a hard time. And you say, but you're working really hard, because we want them to feel better about it. That's not going to improve the student outcome. That might help you develop a relationship. So maybe if we bring that along with the descriptive feedback, that would be a good married balance of the two. Using rewards and punishments. I hear some people say they take away their certain recess time, or they get a sticker if they do something well. Feedback without description, right, wrong, or things that focus more on the student than the task. All of these have great intentions. All teachers have great intentions, but are we truly getting the most bang for our buck when we are providing that kind of feedback? So we're going to talk really quickly. We know that Susan Burkhart's part of her assessment landscape is that large quadrant of formative assessment. We also know that the JCPS assessment landscape has a whole section dedicated to formative assessment. So how do we use that effectively? One, we're going to establish clear, specific learning goals at the onset of the lesson. Learning goals must be explicit and clearly articulated in student-friendly terms. It actually helps to even provide a visual in addition to everything. Maybe think like a concept map or standard wall. That way the student could see the learning goal at all times. So if the student knows what they're learning, they are better to comprehend. It's like a good reader. If I tell the reader what to read for and give the purpose to reading, they're more likely to comprehend the material. That's the same thing for learners. If they know what their end result needs to be, they're focused on the goal. 2, provide feedback that demonstrates explicitly how students can achieve the learning goal. So think about if I was assessing students on the digestive system and they were writing a summary about the steps of it. But I'd just say right or wrong. Now let me think. That doesn't really tell them anything. And if I point out some of the grammar mistakes that they're making, that's really not tied to the learning goal either. It's really quick to point out the things we see that need to be fixed, but make sure that the feedback that we provide actually connects to the learning goal and it's not a bunch of random thoughts that come to your mind. Involve all learners in the feedback process. That includes teachers, students, peers. How do we do that? Well, students, they might self-assess with rubrics. They might self-assess with work samples or answer keys. If they're working with peers, maybe they're comparing their whiteboards in math. Maybe they're writing a quick summary on a sticky note. Maybe they're finding the similarities and differences in their work, but having that peer time can be just as effective. And then obviously, teacher feedback is another important part. Deliver feedback as immediately and frequently as possible. Struggling learners need immediate and frequent feedback because especially in the beginning, errors are common. So we really don't want those errors to manifest and get larger. We want to combat them at the beginning and address those misconceptions. We want to link academic progress to controllable factors, hard work, tenacity. The thing to remember here is that reminding the student that they are not stuck where they are. They can change it, right? And if we can link the descriptive feedback along with these controllable factors, in essence, that makes the feedback 10 times more rich. And be as encouraging as is genuinely possible. Start with positive and descriptive feedback, but you know the number one thing that I feel like I always see, we tell them how great they do, we tell them what they like, but sometimes we forget the next steps. You know, if they did this assignment again, how could they enrich this experience? What could you do to make it better? So I think feedback is great. Always provide them a next step in order to build on the knowledge and ongoing challenge. So I'm going to show you a few examples. Some of these you probably use in your classrooms, but if you don't, it's definitely a resource for you. This is one that I used in my classroom non-stop. It was so many times per week, but it was such an easy way to assess for understanding. Stick it. Post-it notes that demonstrate understanding. Maybe you want to provide students a Venn diagram where they have to compare different economies. Maybe you want to know that the students know the difference between metaphors and similes. Maybe you want the students to calculate the area of a circle. Either way, stick it is an easy process to do that. You ask them a question, the student grabs a Post-it. I've also done it with index cards before. They write their answer and they put their name on the back. And I love the name on the back because it keeps the anonymity behind it. Other students don't know who wrote what. So if it's a safe environment that way, students don't feel it's as intrusive. But the students then get up, splash their answers on chart paper or the board, and then while they're doing that, I remember I would read them and I would start sorting them in similarities. Maybe I noticed that 3 students had the exact same misconception. I put those over together. Maybe I noticed that all of these 10 students, man, they got it. They're ready to move forward. I can group them. And then if we start classifying them into categories, we're able to address where students need it the most. So you address the misconceptions, you celebrate the successes, and then you can return the sticky notes to the board. Now, how do we do this in NTI world? Well, that's where Google Jamboard comes in. I don't know if you've checked it out, but it's pretty awesome. Easy to use. Students can all virtually collaborate on the same thing. It provides that sticky note type thing, as well as Padlet. Padlet does something very similar. Another idea is cubes. You know, think about a dice, or I used to have a really large whiteboard cube that had whiteboard on each side, but they could roll and answer a question. So the picture just gives you a quick example, but think about it. You could put math problems on the sides. Maybe you have science questions on each side. It's versatile. You can use this for any subject. While the students are playing and answering, you're able to provide feedback. The students are working together. So that's peer feedback. And then the students are able to self-assess. So find some dice, or maybe you don't have a big dice that you can change. Maybe you just need a piece of paper that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if they roll a 1, this is the question they answer, and they're able to compare it. However, I've also linked a virtual dice for NTI World, so you can create your own. It was really easy when I tried. Sorting information into groups. I see this a lot in early primary, but I challenge our secondary teachers to utilize some of these if they haven't. I know early primary takes words and they
group them by the hunks and chunks that students see, the diagraphs and blends. I've seen them sort them by vocabulary and content. I know I used it a lot in science and how words connect with each other. So as secondary teachers or older elementary teachers think, how could I use this in my subject? How could I get students to look at words or sort information in a way that makes sense to them? And we tend to think sometimes that sorting has to be within an instruction. I've used it as a pre-assessment before. You can use it throughout the beginning, middle, or end of any lesson, and it's an easily differentiated activity. But you provide them the purpose. Maybe you give them information, true, false, and they have to sort it. Maybe agree, disagree, but they can sort the information in a way that makes sense to them. An easy way to do that, Padlet, Jamboard, you can use both of those for multiple purposes. So sorts is one great formative assessment. Carousels, I knew this as a gallery walk. That's what some of you might have heard of it as. But round the room thinking. Once again, any subject, you don't have to just assign this to reading. You can have peer and teacher feedback, and it's timely. It's immediate, because while the students are walking around the room, guess what I've got? I've got my own post-it, and I'm making comments, and I'm sticking that comment on the board as well. So I was an active participant when this was going on in my classroom. I had my own sticky notes, my own pen, and I moved with the students. And while I moved and made comments, I also listened to conversations. So placing chart paper around the room, maybe you want students to analyze the different themes in a book, and you want to have them write evidence that supports that theme. Well, having them jot the evidence down on a post-it and stick it on the specific poster, and then students can go around and see it, and it provides great peer reflection because that student goes over and reads it and goes, oh, I never really thought about that. So it's an awesome opportunity for students to learn from each other as well.
Ashley, you're getting all kinds of great comments in the chat. Matt was saying that Kathy Neely's 75 formative assessments was one of his favorites as a science teacher. And other people, yes. Christina was saying that she loved your examples and that they're simple to create and give you such important information to form instruction. So people are eating this up right now.
Yes, well, she's speaking my language because I'm all about simple and yet informative. I want to get the most bang for my buck and keep it more open-ended. I never like to provide students the answers. So when we think about the assessment landscape, this looks very messy. I totally recognize that. I tried to simplify it myself, but then I came to the realization that, assessment is messy. There's no one size fits all. We develop assessments based on what we need. And so when I compare this JCPS assessment landscape to the Burkhart's assessment landscape in her book, there were similarities. Universal screeners tied to the interim and benchmarks. I saw that the district common assessments or school-based benchmarks, that tied to interim and benchmark assessments. I saw that these demonstrations of learning, depending upon what the purpose of the data that we need to collect, it could go into benchmarks, it could be formative, or it could be grading. Accountability is kind of in its own little category here. But the one thing that stuck out to me was formative assessment only linked to formative assessment. You might be like, well, so what? Well, that signifies the importance of formative assessment and acceleration. Without a large bulk of formative assessment that's ungraded, unobtrusive, safe, that builds confidence, but yet struggles to maintain anonymity, then students don't grow as fast as we want them. Students are only going to grow as fast as you let them. And we have to let them grow by providing them that timely feedback. And, I loved the quote from Stiggins at the top. Educators must stop thinking of assessment merely as an accountability tool, and it's a teaching tool instead. Stop thinking about it as I need to get a grade. Start thinking about assessment as this is going to determine what I teach tomorrow, in an hour,
next week in the upcoming unit? Let's really narrow our focus in. And, especially with this NTI world, and, I know the school year is almost over. It's not too late to start thinking about some of this for next year. As you wrap up the year, what assessments can you provide your students to see how they've performed in NTI? But we know that there's going to be some learning gaps next August, or this coming August in essence. So what assessments can I provide my students in the beginning so I can form instruction, there's that word form in form instruction that meets their needs. So it's so important. Formative assessment is its own thing. And the one thing I'll leave you with today is, if your feedback's not timely and it's not used to adjust instruction, then what's it for? I remember as a beginning teacher, I provided my students a on-demand writing assessment. And I recall, I was young, I was learning, we all have these moments, but it sat in my bag for a week before I read them. So when I pull them out, at that point, that data is old. Why did I have to have this if I wasn't ready to grade it immediately and provide that timely feedback? And it was kind of a light bulb moment for me. So I encourage a lot of you to think about that. Do you have assessments that you provide students that maybe sit in your bag a long time? Maybe you didn't need that assessment to begin with. Maybe that's an assessment that serves as a benchmark later. Could I have gotten the same information using something smaller and safer for students? So as you kind of go on, know that assessment is messy. Know that it is a complicated process. It's comprehensive. But when you think about the assessment landscape, really ask yourself, am I including everything? Do I have the universal screener? Do I have the grading and summative? Am I utilizing K-Prep? But is the majority of my assessments coming from the formative assessment area? Because we have a whole section dedicated to that. And I encourage you to check out the JCPS assessment landscape for even more details about how you can apply those in your classroom. So I appreciate the time you all have with me today.
Well, thank you, Ashley. We appreciate you being here and for sharing. I really enjoyed that session. There was a lot of great takeaways. Like people were saying on the chat, those examples are quick and easy and so useful. And I had not thought about assessment in that quadrant way, the 4 quadrants like you showed. So it was fascinating to me to see that kind of broken down and organized by time. And, when you look at it that way, how much more emphasis there is on classroom assessment and formative assessment than there is on the state testing, even though that's probably the reverse in most teachers' minds. So
it's a paradigm shift, and it starts with awareness. So we're building the awareness here. So as you wrap up your year and you begin next year, I encourage you to take that awareness and apply it. Change the paradigm in your classroom. And trust me, when I did this in my classroom, the community of the students actually developed more because they felt safer and they didn't feel like they were always, in my words, on it. Like I was grading everything. I was just taking it in, and then I'd respond in a very non-threatening way. So students really responded. It creates a better culture.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking about too is with, in our department, we're all about ed tech and the different tools, and just within, I'm always revert back to Google, but there are just so many ways with comments and other features of the Google tools that you can constantly give kids formative feedback all the time with various ed tech tools. But
and we're in technology world. Like, it makes our lives, supposed to make our lives easier, not harder. So let's utilize that, and give them better than what they've gotten before.
Yep. Well, thanks, Ashley. We appreciate you being on.
Have a good one.
You too. So I am Jack Bosley with the Digital Innovation Team, and I am moderating this afternoon's sessions. We're really glad that you all could join us and are watching live. Don't forget to hop on to the chat and introduce yourself and let us know if you have any questions our 1:30 session this afternoon features Kathleen Receiver and Christina Sheehan, and they are going to be talking about building community NTI style. So, Christina, glad to see you. Hello, Kathleen.
Hello, Jack. We're glad to be here. And as Jack said, my name is Kathleen Receiver, and I'm with Digital Innovation. I'm one of Jack's colleagues. And I invited Christina to come on. She's one of our school digital innovation leaders. She is at Shelby Elementary, and she has a really exciting role coming up this next school year. So, changing her position at Shelby. So that's exciting. But yeah, I'm really excited to learn from her and hear how she's doing things in the NTI world.
Yep, glad you're here. Kathleen, Christina, who's going to be, I assume you all have some slides that you're going to share.
Yeah. Christina, do you want me to share those, or are you okay with sharing and talking? It's up to you.
I can share. It's fine.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, you all.
Thank you. All right, let's see.
That looks good, Christina. We can see your slides, and if you can hit those closed cap, yep, I think you're on that too. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm trying to make sure they're on. All right. You ready for me to go, Kathleen?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right. Well, like Kathleen said, I'm Christina Sheehan, and I teach at Shelby Traditional. I am one of the fourth grade teachers, but also a digital innovation leader for them. And then next year, I get to teach kind of like a STEM, we're going to call it a blended classroom wonder lab. So I'm pretty pumped about that. So my big presentation is on the building community NTI style. So I kind of wanted to just kind of share what I've been doing I'm finding successful with my kiddos, because community is just as important, if not more important, now that we're kind of in separate sections instead of all together in our classroom. So some goals for today is just to at least find just one new idea or activity that you can do with even building the community with your fellow teachers or your class, and have fun and learn something new. So I am all about data, so just to see if what I'm doing is working. So you can kind of see from weeks 1 through 5 the participation rates. And last week, didn't get 100% again, but 88% is still pretty good. 23 out of 26 kids interacted at least once in one of our Google Meets or another community building activity that we've done. So
data is awesome, Christina. Wow.
I also nag them a lot, so kind of drag them in there. But yeah, I mean, I've been really proud of how hard they've been working and how they just keep coming in. And it kind of says that it's fun seeing their community change from what it was to this new kind of classroom that we've got going on online. But they're still keeping those relationships, and those relationships I feel like are getting even stronger. So a big thing that I push for in my classroom is that mental health is huge. So reaching out to them, my first contact is just to check on them and how they're doing. We didn't talk about schoolwork I was on the phone for probably 20, 30 minutes, just to see how they're doing, how their family's doing, and let them know that why you're there. You love them and you care about them. That's why we get into this profession, and we need to remind them of that. And just telling them that, I think, is a big sigh of relief for these families. So making sure that you reach out to them and let them know that you're there for more than just their education, that you're really there for them as a person. So I have, like I said, I have 26 kids. I have 2 of them that are not able to get on a Chromebook because of some circumstance. So calling, we've used the recommendation Google Voice. So we have a Google Voice phone number so that parents and families have that to keep in contact with us. So reaching out to give them just a call. I try to check in with my kids If I don't see them face to face in a Google Meet, I try to reach out to them with a text or a phone call. And also, I like to send, I've sent little postcards. I picked a few kids every week to try to send out just a postcard that says, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day. Just the kids love getting mail. And when that's stuff that we've done at the beginning of the school year. So to kind of tie that in has been a fun thing. They get excited when they get it in the mail. I know I do have a colleague of mine that did the flat Stanley version of themselves where they took a Bitmoji and put their face on it and then sent out those to their families. They teach kindergarten. And they said that their kids are calling and they're so pumped that they have like a little miniature version of their teacher. So that's a really fun thing for you to do. And honestly, I think any grade kids would think that would be hilarious to see open up mail and find their teacher, a tiny flat version of their teacher. But so that's just a simple way to reach out and let them know that you're thinking about them.
I think that's a great idea too, Christina, because many times with NTI, we're thinking, how can we connect with them digitally? But that is, those are great examples of ways, snail mail. My kids still love getting cards in the mail from their postcards from teachers or grandparents or whomever. So those are great ways that are not techie, but still a great way to build those relationships and let them know someone out there cares. So good idea. I like the flat Stanley. I think I've seen that on Twitter too.
Yeah, they're pretty funny. So using Google Classroom has been a big thing the whole school year. So my kids have kind of transitioned pretty easily into the NTI aspect of how to turn in specific work. So I tried to tie in things that we did in the classroom and put them onto Google Classroom. So we always did a daily check-in question. On Mondays, I always do how are you doing? What'd you do this weekend? What's something fun that you did with your family? And the rest of the week is a real simple, would you rather question. And I started making it to where it's a multiple choice question rather than fill in the blank. And they love it. They want to see who's winning. If there's, and then they start rooting for each other and leaving comments on there. So just a simple one like I put on here, would you rather have wings like a bird or a nose like an anteater? And it's a quick, easy way to get your students to participate, and it's also fun to see them working together and commenting to see who can get theirs to win. But that's just something very simple that they're so used to doing within the classroom. And so it kind of gives them that little reminder of things that we did when we were all together physically, and tie it into our NTI classroom. So that's been kind of fun. So trying to find those little simple things that you did in your classroom when you all were together and putting them digitally, I think has really helped. So Google Meets. We do these 2 times a day. And they are my favorite part of the day. So when we very first did it, they were so pumped to get to see each other. It was like Grand Central Station, everybody's yelling, hey, everybody's like, I miss you. I had 20 kids just screaming and yelling at each other. So we knew, just like our regular classroom, we've got to set up norms. And so if you look, I've got the mic on, I have mic off sign. I just drew one on a piece of paper and talked to my kids and was like, okay, when you come in, make sure you're on time. And I kind of started it off to where there was a time, hey, we're going to start at 9:30 every day. This is when you need to be on. Now they kind of trickle in as everybody likes to sleep in. They know that they need to be respectful. Stay in one place is a huge rule that we have, because as much as I love seeing their family, I don't want to see the computer screen bouncing up and down and going crazy. I teach them to shut their video off if they need to leave the meeting for any reason, and to mute yourself when others are talking. Some teachers that I've talked to have it to where there's a Google slide that's there automatically when they enter, that the teacher has expectations on there. My class has always been they're little social butterflies. So when they get on, their first thing is they normally say good morning or hey, good afternoon, and they talk to each other real quick, and then we get started. So it's kind of up to you and how your setup was and how you want it to be, whether you want them to come in and automatically have their mics turned off, or if you want them to let them get their greetings to each other and then remind them to shut their mics off. I just had, like I said, that mic off on a piece of paper, and I would just hold it up to the screen, and they knew when that was on that I need to either get on level 0, or I need to shut my mic off because machine needs to talk, or it's another person's time to talk. But those were very important to set up, and it's made our meetings really successful whenever they're doing that.
Well, and I like the microphone idea, just having that visual reminder for them. So obviously in a meet, you can go through and mute them all, but that takes some time. And then also they can unmute themselves and to start over. So I like the idea of setting that expectation with the microphone. And I was thinking, as you were speaking about, as they get their hellos out of the way, I don't know, maybe another way would be to put up a Jamboard or something where they can say hello on that. That way they don't feel like they have to speak out.
Right.
Those are great ideas, and I just like the whole idea of setting up norms. I mean, we do this in our regular classroom, so having those same type of norms and expectations for online classes are really important.
Right. And I also think they're so used to having those that it's like another reminder, like, oh, well, we got rules in class, we got rules on NTI. It's kind of like you're saying, it gives them kind of like a comfort feeling, I think. And it's been funny, I have a 6-year-old, so he knows that when my meets start, like, he bolts in real quick and says, good morning, guys, and then he runs out the door. So he's got that expectation, too, built in, that he knows he can come in, say hi real quick, and then he's get out, because mommy's funny. And then when he knows when the times get ready to come off, he hops back in, and they all say goodbye to him, and then he leaves. So it's been fun. So one thing I've seen a lot of, spirit weeks. They're super easy to do. My kids, we've done them just like random things like hat day or PJ day, or we've had stuffed animal shares. So just like you would, like, it's another way to pull activities and things that you do when you're together at school to pull them into this NTI atmosphere. I really think it's important, and it's also something fun. Your kids want to see you be goofy and have fun with them. And I really feel like this NTI has given us an extra opportunity to do that, and just have fun with it. I know that we don't have, the rest of the school year together, so letting them take pictures of themselves and sending them to you to make like a little collage of things that we've done together is another neat way to kind of tie it all together. But I'm always down for Spirit Day, so anytime I get to do something like that, I'm up for it. These are probably my kids' favorite activities, is we do scavenger hunts. And with the Google Meets, I do instruction part for the first probably 20 to 30 minutes, and I also ask them questions like, do you have any help on that? But the rest of the time, we're really doing this building community, talking about things, having deep discussions, and so the scavenger hunts, I kind of use them twofold. Sometimes I'll do them to shift more towards academics, and others it's just to have fun and be goofy. So some different ways that I've done it is like with math, finding specific shapes or angles. Like you need to go find something that has a right angle. And I tell my kids, your rules are you can't be wearing whatever the item is, and you can't use the same item twice in one game. So they get 1 point if they find it, and 2 points if they're the first ones to find it. So I tried to remind the parents, like, go tell your parent that you're getting ready to run in your house, because I know you're going to go crazy. As soon as I start saying these things, you're going to bolt around, and I don't want your mom or granny or anybody else thinking that I have gone off the deep end and like just run rampant in your house. So I've had it to where we tie them to content. Other things are like, go find a sock that has pink on it, or go find your favorite stuffed animal. different things like that. But it's just been a fun way for them to get up, move around for a little bit, and to have fun with each other. And like I said, you can do it twofold. You can do it to where it's just to find fun stuff and laugh together, or you can tie it to your content and still have fun with it. Some other things we've done, I don't know if you saw behind me when I first started, but we do a lot of craft stuff. My kids are really big into Legos. I teach 4th grade. And so they've got just tubs of Legos at home. So we've been doing a lot of go grab 20 Legos and see what you can build. And I do the same thing. My son's huge into Legos, so I just grab a bunch of them. And I also have a ton of Legos behind me of Harry Potter. So my kids have loved seeing what I've created that day. Directed drawings. Art Hub for Kids is the best YouTube channel, I think, for kids on how to draw. You can draw tons of things, and it's a dad who draws with members of his family, and you get to see how he's doing it and his daughter or son or wife right next to. It also teaches the kids how to pause. It even gives them a reminder, we're going too fast, just remember to pause the video. They love the pop-up surprise ones that they do, and we like to, I always just put the video up and share my screen, and then we draw together.
My kids love that. Like, that is one of their favorite things to do at our house as well. And then I try to use the choice boards from the district, and then because of other things, they draw a picture, or I'm like, oh, okay, so we did the activity, but then they want you to draw a picture. So let's go see if, Art Hub has something to draw a picture of whatever it was. And that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, they're great, and they have such a wide variety of things that you can find something that a kid's gonna like.
Exactly.
Right, mine have been hooked on Minecraft right now, and like I said, those pop-up surprises, and then puzzles. A lot of my kids have tablets, phones, so they like to do word searches in the classroom. We do them a lot of the time just to I'd let them make one with their vocabulary words. And so I try to show them how to make one at home, just with words around your house or words that we were doing for content that week. And then I try to show them the ones that I've made, and we try to find words together. Like I said, it's just little fun things that they can do together that you can tie very easily to content. But it's just enjoying each other's company and doing things together. Some other things that we've been doing, my kids love, we use Class Dojo K through 5 at Shelby, and they love the videos that they have. So, like I said earlier, I do content, and then I try to do an activity, and then we try to do some kind of peaceful moments and have conversations about them, and they love the Class Dojo videos, all of them. I think we've probably watched them 2 or 3 times, just through NTI. They would watch over and over again. They're really good, and they cover a wide variety of topics, and they bring out really meaningful conversation with the kids, and getting them up and moving. Cosmic Yoga on YouTube is also another really good YouTube channel that we use, and right now I'm actually in a boot because I have to have surgery on my ankle, so that's been funny that they try to watch me do yoga. Thankfully, I have my son that kind of steps in for me at times. But like I said, just having fun with them and doing things that you used to do in the classroom and tying them here. Just because we're apart doesn't mean we can't have fun together still.
Christina, that's a great point. And Kathleen, maybe you can help me with this. But we as a team were just reading an article, when was that, last week, about pitfalls of online learning, I think was the title of it. And
pitfalls of online learning. Yep.
Yeah, and they were talking about just how teachers get so serious during online learning, and they forget to share their personality and have fun with the kids. So I'm glad that you brought this up about, trying to not be serious all the time and have fun with them and do things that are funny.
Right. And anybody who's visited my room knows that's normally how things go in there. But it's just, you have to realize that we're in such an odd state right now, and the kids need as much normalcy as possible. And I really think it's important to bring in what they were so used to as much as you can into where we're at right now. So something that a teammate of mine actually did, she had one of her first Google Meets, and her kids did not want to get off. So she's like, well, I have to start dinner. So she just brought her tablet over and set it up while she started making dinner. And her kids have requested she do this once a week now. They get to help watch her make dinner. And it's another one of those things that you can honestly tie in content. There's so much math content you can tie into just by doing this. And it's just a fun thing to let the kids kind of hang out and talk while you guys are making dinner. One of my students was so pumped that she learned how to cut tomatoes for tacos. And so she wanted to show us how she did it. So we gave her the stage and let her show for a few minutes.
That's a great idea.
They loved it so much.
I mean, but what great real life opportunities. And, some of the kids may not have parents at home that know how to cook. I know my husband didn't, and that's why he can't cook. So, what great opportunities. Elaine Abenatha and I sometimes have, because we just miss seeing, each other as friends. We'll have Google Meet going, and I'll be cooking, and I'll teach her a few things, and sometimes she teaches me a few things, not so much though. She's really learning from me about how to cook, but it's a really good opportunity, and there's so many different writing prompts and things that you could bring from this.
Yeah, and I really think that this is just about seizing all those opportunities that we thought we couldn't do and making it happen. Because I know there's been so many when I'm teaching measurement, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I just had stuff to make cookies right now, I'd do it. And now we had that opportunity. My coworker, I think she's making them next week with her kids.
That's another thing. Like you said, you don't have the opportunity. You don't have an oven or necessarily in your classroom, so these are things we couldn't really do. So way to make the best of it. That's great.
Yeah, I really think that's the biggest part is we've got to just really seize it and try to do what we can do to help tie them together. This is actually something that I've done in the classroom, but then also carried it over to NTI, is writing stories together. Just using a Google Doc that you share that all the kids have access to, and let them take turns. I've also done it normally in the classroom. What I do is I have a piece of paper on a clipboard, and then we pass it around, and they get to write one sentence, and then they have to pass it to the person on the left. So this has kind of made it to where I just yell out a random kid's name, and that's the next person that has to type the next sentence on the story. And it's been pretty funny to see what they come up with. And so it's another one of those opportunities where you take things that they've done before in the classroom and kind of put a spin on it so that they can still do it again. Show and tell is a super simple idea that we've done probably since kindergarten, but my kids love doing it. And like I said, they're in 4th grade, so I'm pretty sure you could do this with any grade. They just like to be kids, and it's one of those things where they're like, oh, I remember I got to do that in kindergarten. Well, let's do it now. So letting them share, again, one of those things where they might get to show you things that they couldn't because they're, in school. Like, show me your pet. Show me your, if you want to talk about your siblings, your siblings right here. Just, like I said, seizing those moments and letting them happen that we may not have been able to do because we had the barriers of being in school. I'm trying to break those down and letting them explore even more. And don't forget to involve yourself. It's always super easy to come up with all these other ideas and just let your kids participate, and it means a lot when you participate with them.
I think that's the best part for them probably is getting to see their teacher, participate. I know my son, they've done that. And if they have pets, they get to show their pets. And that has been really funny for me to watch, to see all the kids with their pets. But something else that you just mentioned before this slide, but it kind of goes along with this as well, is with the writing. My son's teacher, we live in Indiana, so a different district, but my son's teacher wanted them to do a biography on someone. And he loves Abe Lincoln, so I know Jack will appreciate that, but he loves Abe Lincoln, so he already knew some information on that, and he wanted to do a biography on Abe Lincoln, and she wanted them to write 2 paragraphs about what they researched and dress up and be recorded. And he said, well, can I just build a world in Minecraft and write about it there? And then screen record my screen, and that'll be my project? And she was like, yeah, that's great. So just another way, that's his world. All of our kids probably are on devices way too much, but he was on Minecraft and doing something educational,
right?
With his information. So really bringing that in too for show and tell is the reason I said that. Also, he could show and tell what he had done with his project.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things like we get excited about teaching certain units and certain topics, and we want to do it a certain way. We get really excited about it, and we put everything into that. And the kids will do the same thing. If you give them all these options, and NTI's opened it up for even more options, they're producing high quality work. Is what I'm finding.
Exactly. Yep, you're exactly right.
So here's some other games that we've played. Google Jamboard has been lifesaver. Like, I love it. And my kids have really liked using it to play Pictionary and Hangman. GimKit has been a huge hit with us. We played that before NTI, but my kids really like it because it was created by a student, so they think it's even more awesome because a kid designed it. And we use it for review a lot with multiplication facts. And it's kind of like Kahoot, but it's got a lot of video game stuff along with it. Like, they can buy power-ups and things like that. So playing into those interests that they have and finding ways to connect content and review content, but still making it fun. Charades has been a fun one that we've played. They've also been recently, because they like the mute feature, is they try to say a sentence or a word, and you try to guess what it is when their mute's on. So they've been doing that as well, and trying to keep track of their points. They like to split up into teams. I let them have a lot of freedom into helping decide what games we play. Like I said, I try to do a game or activity with them every time we meet. So that kind of is how we wrap up our day, is doing the activity or a game. Virtual field trips we've done. Last week we were talking about fossils and science and how fossils tell us about the world. And so we went to the museum in New York and took a tour of where they had the paleontologists and different things like that. So it's also allowed us to kind of explore things together and build your wonder questions and things like that. So that's been fun. We've also went to Disneyland and rode a few rides. So those have been different fun things that we can do. And YouTube has a mass amount of, we do first person videos for the ride so that it feels like you're on the ride. And that's been really fun to sit there and watch. I watch them and watch their reactions while we're watching those videos, and it's hilarious, and they love it so much. So that's been a fun thing that we've done together too. And here's just a list of some other ones. When we first started NTI, our music teacher, Miss Buckler, she had used Google Songmaker before with them before we went to NTI. And so I pulled that up. That was one of the first kind of activities that we did, and let them create a song when they drew their name on there. And then we all listened to each other's songs. So that was another one of those tie-ins to what they're used to, kind of throw it into activity. But these are just some other ones that you can do together and tie them into their content, or just to have a nice little wrap-up activity to do with your kids. And so that's what I tell my kids every day: stay home, stay healthy, and stay learning.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
This was great information. We had a few people in the chat that really liked some of the ideas. I think Deborah Berger, she said that she loves the idea of sharing with the class how to cook, and then also the show and tell. Mimi, who is up next to present after you, she said that they did that in their classroom, and the kids really loved it as well. So great job, and thanks for representing Zone 2 well today.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome.
Great session, Christina. Thanks for sharing all those fantastic examples. There's a lot there that people can use.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye. Well, I'm Jack Bosley with the Digital Innovation Team, and up next we have Rebecca, Robin, and Mimi Radcliffe, who are going to be sharing some ideas and thoughts. How are you all today?
Can't complain.
Good
Doing
deal.
good. I'm happy to be back.
So hey, Rebecca, Robin.
Hi, Jack.
You guys have a session this afternoon called HPE during NTI, choice boards and more. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm going to start sharing my screen give me 1 second.
Sure. All right. That looks good, Rebecca.
Okay, well, it still says loading on my end.
Well, yeah, but you're at least sharing, so.
Well, hope it goes a little faster.
There we go. You got closed captioning. You got it. You got it.
All right. I'm going to hide this little guy, too.
I'm going to turn it over to you all then.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Jack. We're really excited to be back again. We are sharing a few of the same things, but we really wanted to share out kind of about how field day went at my school, and Mimi's got some really great new resources for you guys, so we're not doing the same thing. So I did field day on May 8th. I got to hold kind of like a little mini training at our last PLC with Mimi, with a lot of our HPE teachers, and help them get started. But a lot of teachers had the idea to do field day on the last day, and I thought that would be a really great idea, and I'd love to help you guys out with that. So what field day consists of, I used Open's website. They have all the resources for field day, and there's a link where it says here that you guys can grab. What the students do is they choose 4 of the tasks. There's 21. They have the written directions, photos, and then videos. So ESL, they have Spanish versions and things like that. So that is really, really inclusive. The tasks are done with items that are around your house, softballs, laundry baskets, cups, things like that. So it's really great equity-wise, because I don't even have gym equipment at my home. And then I've inserted my original field day slide deck, so you guys can have access to that to steal and manipulate for your own school. And I think it's just a really great way to bring everyone together one last time at the end of the year, because I know those last days are really going to be hard for student and even teacher input. So celebrating the participation, what I did is on the exit slip for after they filled out those 4 different tasks, down at the bottom, I put a little section where it says, share a photo or a video of what you did today. And they just would click that add file and put in a photo or a video. So what was really cool is throughout the day, I would just have my teachers or myself go on and click that view folder. When you go to view all your exit slip submissions or your Google Form submissions, you can click that little part that says view folder, and you'll have all of these different images or videos, depending on what. So I had Richard, he had a video. And what I did was on that slide deck, I went through, and it was a little time consuming, but I think it's worth it, because seeing your own picture up on something for the whole school to see is really special. So everything that they shared during the day, I was right by my computer all day, and I would cut those out and I would post them on that slide deck so that they could see their friends, they could see their teachers that participated, and they had access to that. So they could do the video. I'll show you like a clip. So this is actually one of my students. He's
he's got his balloon and everything. So it was really cool to see that they went and got the supplies, because even I had to go get a balloon from my house. Just giving them those little shout outs was great. One thing I also wanted to share, I know that we only have a couple weeks left of school, but my special area team has started a live schedule, and we just do a 30-minute session every day that students can pick and choose when they want to come. And obviously this is optional. We don't want to bog them down with too much work. And I actually went live today, and I went to my school because the Wi-Fi is incredible at our JCPS schools. And I did some yoga for my kids, and they were really excited to be able to see the school. And I don't know if I was breaking any rules by kind of hanging out there, but I got to flip the camera around and kind of show them around after we were done. So that sense of community was really great. And when you do go live, students are able to interact with each other. I was able to share my screen and show students doing these yoga poses so they can see each other. And I think that that's really important, besides our really great choice boards, to really have that interactive classroom discussion and interactions. So that's really cool. If you guys need help with that, shout me out. And then this is just kind of how, this is kind of how I have it set up on that original slide. This will be a link to what the kids can see. They can kind of maybe make a schedule with their parents. We have live for art and things like that, maybe what they want to do. So today I did the live yoga, and then next week I'm going to have a digital literacy help desk, and we're going to learn some keyboard shortcuts and things like that, because this year I'm doing PE and technology. So I'm trying to intermix those together. And then this is still my same solid choice board that I've been using, Healthy Minds and Healthy Bodies. And I've embedded those videos, and we talked about that last time, just how important it is to watch those videos before you put them on there, make sure they're appropriate, make sure that there's equipment that those kids are going to have at home, and really giving them a variety and not overwhelming them. I've actually kept these choice boards the same for the past few weeks in order for students to have opportunities to access all of that work. And then just having that exit slip for you guys to be able to check out. That's how they show me that they've completed their work, and they say their teacher name and just what activity they did off the exit slip. And then I have them connected to a backpack skill with a quick little couple of sentence reflection, and they can insert a photo on that as well. My last thing for my section is kind of like a call to action for our HPE teachers. The reality of this summer, I think, for students is going to be hard. Their pools are going to be closed. Daycare might be looking different. We're missing out on Backpack League. I know so many students were really excited for that, and teachers. And I was talking to Mimi just kind of about how we can still provide that structure. We're obviously not still going to be working as teachers, but providing them that website that they can go to for resources, and maybe like a way for teachers to interact with their students outside of school every once in a while. I really do think that school is what could be keeping some of our students hanging on at this time and seeing our faces and having things to interact with. So I think that providing them with a little bit of an extension is really important. Not only for wellness and PE and health, but probably for regular ed classrooms as well.
That's great, Rebecca. I love the idea of providing them resources and structure over the summer. I think that's going to help a lot of kids.
I do too. All right, Robin, this is your section.
Okay, guys, so the last time we were together, we were talking about some different things that we were doing for NTI, so I thought I would take you through the process that I have gone through. So in the beginning of NTI instruction, I kind of took to Twitter and tried to figure out what I was going to do, kind of contacted my personal PLC and support groups that I have, and we kind of looked at this original calendar here that I shared out to you guys through Mimi, and we had tweaked it so that it kind of worked for us, and so it came out looking like the next slide. And so we modified that calendar that we found on Twitter to look like this, so that it was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday calendar, and attached the links. But some of that wasn't working so well for my kids. They just weren't doing a very good job at making sure they were going to the extra step for their Google form or whatever. So we modified that to try to make it a little more clear for them. So on the next slide, we ended up changing it to this, so that it would work so that kids could see exactly what they were doing. So what day it was, what the activity was, what to do, how to turn it in, if it was graded or not graded, if there was something. And all of the links were inside this one board. So their video or whatever they needed to see, whatever was a slideshow, whatever was inside of this. And then how they turned it in was also inside of this, so they could see that. So that sort of worked, and we're kind of working with that now still at this point. And then at one point when we were working on that calendar, there was this need or request for a true digital choice board, because the calendars didn't really offer much kids choices. It was just, here are your assignments and things that I would like for you to engage in. And so the next step was to actually give them choices. And so I was creating this choice board, and as I told you last time, I wanted people to consider making it truly digital, and then also to consider some NTI challenges. I wanted people to consider that there are some kids who are only children, and that they would need to be able to play games, do activities solo, and that there may be limited devices for on the opposite end, where there are multiple children in the household, where there may have 3 or 4 kids in the household. And then I want also not to be all fitness, because a lot of the activities that we are engaging in as a HPE community are fitness, because they're easy to do, and they're necessary, and they're good for our kids, but they're also can be overwhelming. We don't want kids to, start to not like fitness. We want them to enjoy it. Although a lot of the activities they are coming up with are fun, but I wanted to give them a variety. And so I also wanted to be something I could use again face to face. So this is what I came up with. And the link on the bottom for this template was something that I did not create myself. I just tweaked it to make it work for PE. And so the link on that previous slide, if you click on it, it's where I got the format from, was a YouTube video. And I just kind of followed the steps to set it up through that. And so here you will see that this is what it ended up looking like. I gave my students like in a tic-tac-toe board type format, where there were 8 choices and the start in the middle. All of the numbers are linked. Couldn't think of the word. They are linked. So choice 1 will take you back to choice 1 on the choice board, and so on and so forth. And then anytime you get to that particular choice on the choice board, there's a back button that will take you back to this first page, where they can then pick a new choice. All of the activities inside of it stay inside of this choice board, so that children do not have to go outside to another website. So it's digital, and it also stays inside of the choice board. So it's a really neat tool. And if you go to the next slide, you will see what one of those might look like. So this is what a choice board would look like, as far as actually this slide shows you about things you want to consider as you go to create it. Now I wanted variety in mind, like I wanted to give my kids opportunities to do different types of activities, but you might want to do a all fitness choice board, or an all games, or all dances. I decided to do 2 fitness activities, 2 mindful activities, 2 games, and 2 dances. You could do this however you wanted to. You just need to decide that before you start creating, or else you're going to drive yourself absolutely crazy. And if you go to the next slide, Rebecca, this slide just kind of shows what a task might look like. This is one of my mindfulness tasks. So I give some direction on this left-hand side, where it shows and give them some direction about what mindfulness is, so they'll know what it is. And then inside, I've embedded a video that I've watched, of course, as Rebecca talked about earlier. And it's just a meditation or breathing exercise about calming down. And it instructs them to find a quiet place to sit or lay, away from distractions, and then follow along with the video. And then in the actual, this is just a screenshot, but in the actual
choice board, if you click that back button, it takes you back to that first page. So the next slide will show you that if you click, when you guys access the slide, if you click on this particular, it will take you to the actual template of that slide deck, and then you can have a copy of it for yourself. And if it's
might not be the best.
It's fine. You don't have to click it. I just want to know they have access to the template. So you can actually see the template for it. So for those of you who may have missed it last time, that I just took out all those extra slides so you can see it. So the next thing I wanted to share with you was a little different that I didn't share from last time was some resources from Health with Minds. All of our JCPS schools are Health with Mind schools. And so we've signed up to be Help with Mind schools, and they have some really good resources for at home that we can do during NTI. And they also have some things for us when we're back in school for the building. But I also wanted to share some things that you could maybe use for these last few days in NTI, or if we have to start back up in August or September or July or whenever we might start back up, things that you could use and resources for NTI. And I'll wait for her to.
I think someone might need to take over. I'm so sorry, everyone. It's really just loading. Oh, maybe.
Oh, it's coming up.
It's coming.
This is why I went to Klondike this morning for that internet.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Rebecca. I was like, no wonder you're doing live sessions over there.
It's okay.
I bet by the time either myself or Robin took over, it'd
be up. Yeah.
Oh.
I was hoping it just said something.
I think for all our viewers out there, they did see the slide deck, so they know that you guys didn't put a whole bunch of just blank white slides.
We never know.
And this is not your first rodeo on the channel either for you all. So
I apologize, everyone.
Okay, I'm going to talk even though they're not up.
Go ahead, Robin.
Okay, so the Help with Minds is a program that is really addressing some of our kids' problems and challenges that they have these days. You know, the bullying, the social awkwardness, and things that this program does for our kids. It's also a service learning project that our students can do in our schools, and it can also be a fundraiser for our PE programs or just for the entire school, actually, it can be. And so Help with Minds has some at-home tools that we can use. And so inside of Help with Minds, they also have a field day component, kind of as like open PE. So in the open PE, they had like 21 activities. The Help with Minds one has like 11, and it has its theme is based all around the components of mindfulness. So, is it back up?
No, guys, I think someone else needs.
Hang tight.
Okay, let me grab.
I stopped sharing my screen.
Robin, do you want me to share?
I'm getting it, I think. Just trying to get to the right slide before I pull it up.
We are showing some really great resilience right now, guys.
Robin,
right.
Rebecca, I want to know what part of the yoga your dog led today, because that's when I looked at your photo, that's the first thing that I came to was your dog with you at yoga. So tell us about your dog and yoga.
Well, the only thing he really does know is downward dog, but it was really fun to see my kids, I call them my kids, my students' pets all pop in. Once they saw Sawyer was there, they all know who he is. They were like, hold on, let me get my cat, let me get my whatever. I had our art teacher was there with his big bull mastiff doing yoga too. They just got in the way, but it was really fun. Yoga with pets, guys, PE teachers. I think that's your next live session.
Yeah, I've got the slides up. I can broadcast those. I don't know.
Jack, you're the best. I don't know what's going
Okay,
on.
I'm going to stop sharing then and let you do so because I can't see what I'm seeing.
I'm not sure which slide we were on. I'm on slide 17. Choice boards, where to start.
Keep going. Go to slide 21, please.
All right.
And let me get myself so I can see what you're showing. Sorry. Okay, I can't see what you're showing.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not
All right.
sure if this is the best, or maybe you should take over, Robin, but our viewers can see a slide that says Health Moves Minds,
Okay.
Shape America. I don't know if that helps you or not, but I can let you take over again if you want.
No, I can. You can. If they can see it, I'm good with it. I can just read from what I know is on there. Will that work?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So just let me make sure I'm on the right slide. So on this slide, you see where it talks about Health with Minds and how about it talks about the program in general. And then they have some at-home things. One of the things they have is a family field day packet, which is slide 23. So this family field day packet is all based on the concepts of this mindfulness, empowerment theme of Health with Minds. And so all of the activities are based on that. And so you got some kindness, or like a kindness challenge, art break, and things of that nature. It's pretty neat. So I just kind of took Rebecca's slide deck she did for Open and inserted the Health with Minds things. And if you click on those, it'll take you to all of the little slides for that. You don't have to do that now because I don't want us to slow down. And then the next very slide is the entire Health with Minds field deck slide deck at home. I just want to know that you have another option because I know Friday was really rainy and nasty. So I don't know if a lot of people got to do the open one because some of the events probably would have been better outside. So there is another option for another field day, and it's just the Health with Minds one with all the mindfulness and the empowerment and that type of thing in it. And the next opportunity for Health with Minds is a movement calendar. So they have this mind and body calendar that you could send home with kids. Maybe even kids were doing package paper things, or if they're just doing, if you need something else to like a filler, even for that last week, there's one for May that's up, and the old one for April actually has video links to it for the elementary one, but there's a May for elementary and there's a May for secondary. So they're just exercises. Some of it's yoga, some of it's just workout things. It's got a variety. So it's working on both health moves and minds, being kind, positive talk and things of that nature. Also, they have what's called a quick student challenge document that has some different things. Like one of the examples is chalk your walk, doing a Zendan, circle of compliments, and in this slide too, when you guys access it, there's a complete list of the challenges, just several pages of challenges that you could maybe do for like 1-minute challenges for your NTI. So like a lot of the bottle flips and things were been real popular with 1-minute challenges. There's some 1-minute challenges you could do in those and modify those for your kids. And then also on the Health with Minds at homepage, there's also like a virtual 5K. There's some early childhood activities, some self-care, and more. So if you click on that logo when you get to this slide deck, there's also some things. It'll take you to the Shape America website with some free resources there. And then finally, the Health with Minds has a pledge. And during this time of COVID-19 pandemic, it's important that everybody to inspire healthy habits, feel active minds, and teach kids to thrive physically and emotionally. So Shape America just wants to invite people to take the Health with Minds pledge. And if you do that, there's just a little link that you can go where you can take the pledge. And it's something that you might encourage your kids to remember that, and all of our teachers to remember that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and to remember that it's important for us to think about teaching our kids healthy habits, fueling their minds, and to be active, and to take care of their physical and their emotional needs. And in general, if you need more information about Health with Minds,
then Angela Stark and Katie Embry are our coordinators, and you can reach them, and their contact information is also in the slide. And then finally, the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about, because some people had asked about it from last time, was about using some of this digital stuff for when we go back to face-to-face. The digital choice board that I talked about earlier, using it to differentiate instruction for a variety of skill levels and a variety of different activities. We had talked about last time, I gave the example that if you had that choice board and you were teaching students who had a different level of skill experience, for example, maybe you had students who had never played basketball and kids who were on a team. So you can use that digital choice board, put all basketball activities in it, and let kids work on their own level to keep kids all engaged on their own level. And then you could maybe help kids who had lesser skill levels. We talked about that. And then we talked about a digital whiteboard that I use. So I believe on this slide 32 is my example of a digital whiteboard. This was created by Kevin Tiller, who's really big on Twitter, and was adapted by LaDonda Porter, who teaches in Fayette County. But then I kind of used it to my kids because it was a good way for kids to know what was going on. I use clickers or magnets in my classroom, and so this was their daily question, so they could do that, answer the question, and then also know what was happening. It's their agenda basically for the day, and so then they didn't have to ask me 100 times about what are we doing today, what are we doing today. So it was for them and for me too, for my sanity, because that drives me crazy. And then the other thing that I use for digital was for their learning targets. I use a digital learning target, so it has the Bitmojis in it, so that kids would know what they're expecting to do in their main skill. And then finally, some suggested resources for in NTI and out of NTI. One of the things I wanted to encourage people to do is think about things that we're using out of NTI that when we go back to the building that we can really get our kids to get proficient at, so that if we have to go back out of the building, that kids will be able to have a smooth transition. So things like Flipgrid and Calm and Sworkit and things like that you can use and teach your students how to use, and then later they could to do. Mimi.
Well, I'm going to take my few minutes left, Jack, and I'm going to try to go through all of these different slides, just kind of a rundown. And these are slides that have been created by our fellow health and physical educators in Jefferson County. So, Jack, you want to go along with me? I should be now on slide 37.
Hold on just a second, Mimi. Got it.
Okay. The first slide is by Alan Markia. It's just a simple choice board with exit slips. Another one that was made by Sally Shade from Fairdale Elementary. Hers is used Bitmoji. She's got several different ideas put in there. The next one is from Ryan Connor at Tully, and he has embedded several videos from Go Noodle into his, and also one that he did with his kids. I love option one. All of these are linked in our slides. The next few are from Bruce Oldham at Nancy, and if you will go down to slide 42, which is a picture, he has a YouTube website that he has created, Chancey Phys Ed. He is doing some amazing work with his kids. He is recording his own videos, and he's doing those with his staff and his students, and he has several different activities that he has been going through. Couple more, Carrie Rogers from Du Bois, who's using a lot of Bitmojis. Kelsey Smoot, who's using AMRAP, which stands for as many repetitions as possible. So you can see she's got a timer, and she's doing different rounds with her AMRAP. That is her choice board for her activity for the week. We've got Butler High School that has even done some activities at home, target heart rate, leg days, 6-minute abs. So they've done even how to juggle. If you look at the orange by Batman and Robin, they've done how to juggle. The last one from JCPS is from Coach Leeser at Seneca, and that is fitness weightlifting, so strength and conditioning workout. The last few that I wanted to share, I know we're almost out of time, are some from my friend Sarah Geitshire Hartman. She's done a bingo activity, and these are all high school geared, mini wellness wheels, and then on the next one, Jack, a wellness tic-tac-toe board. All of these have feedback guides, and you can give, they're all linked. She's an amazing educator, and so are folks in JCPS. I just wanted to make sure if those last couple of weeks, these activities are ready to go. We have a JCPS NTI resource page where our JCPS educators have shared over 120 now resources and artifacts of their student learning and student products that they're showing us. And then, of course, our last slide, we're here with questions. You want to reach out to us. Rebecca and Robin are both rockstar teachers, as are our other 250-ish health and physical educators at JCPS. I'm so proud to lead them.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being here. Let me see if I can get my camera turned back on. So a lot of great information during that session. It's so important to get kids who are kind of contained at home, physically active. So you all gave so many great examples on how to do that, and I mean just countless
Jack,
resources. Yes.
before I go, I want to mention that this Friday during our elementary PLC, which is at 12:30, there's a link up in Rebecca's slides, but we're going to be talking about that Google site that we're going to be building for our students for the summer. So if you, everybody can go ahead and check out our slides, but it's up on there. And then if you're a PE and health person, I'll be sharing that with you in an email tomorrow.
Perfect. Thanks, Mimi. Rebecca, Robin, all of you, really, really appreciate you all sharing your ideas. And Mimi, thanks for watching over the chat. That's a huge help from our team.
I can multitask with the best of them.
You're better at it than I am. So
Huge shout out to you, Jack, for dealing with all those technical difficulties.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Yeah, no problem, you all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you all who were watching and joining us on the chat and watching live today. Just remember that you can always find on-demand videos anytime that you need help on the JCPS Digital Learning channel. Before we leave this afternoon, I just want to remind everybody that we're having another Twitter chat tonight. Monday seemed to be the day for that. It's tonight at 8 o'clock, and it's going to feature some of our Miracle Middle School leaders. And if you're interested in joining in and participating, just use the hashtag JCPSDigIn. And again, that's on Twitter tonight at 8 o'clock. Remember, always use the channel. You can learn all the time. We appreciate you all being here. We're here to support you with your questions and needs, and we will see you tomorrow.